Well, hi everyone. I'm Coach Lee with Action Coach Business Coaching, and I'm very excited to have one of the co-founders of Fair Market Health. And your name, sir, is Dean Jargo. Is that how you say that?
That's it.
I said that right. And
All
you and
right.
I, yeah, thank you. You and I had a good conversation prior to this interview, and I wish everyone could have heard that. But anyway, I have a lot of questions that I would like to ask you. And what you're doing is different, unique, it's out of the box, it's very exciting. And so I really am looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So I'm just going to start off and ask you, first of all, add anything you want to the process. And I'd like to have you at some point interject a little bit about your history and where you've been, because this is your first entrepreneurial experience. Like there's a book called The E-Myth. I don't know if you've read it yet. And Michael Gerber is the author, and he says people who work for a company, they have an entrepreneurial seizure and they go out and think they can start a business, and they find out that they're just doing what they did for their employer, and they don't know how to do it.
Right.
Entrepreneurials do it differently, get things done. So that's just an interesting, it's interesting that you've taken this path, I think so. So tell us about the business, Fair Market Health, and how long have you been doing it, and how did it all begin?
Okay, great. Thanks, Lee. Fair Market Health is an online marketplace for healthcare services. And what we principally do is match patients with doctors, and we do it in a clear, fair, transparent way. We offer bundled services because if you've ever interacted with a healthcare service, particularly in a surgical context, you'll know that once the surgery is over, you start receiving bills from all kinds of different people that were involved in the surgery. The facility sends you a bill, the doctor sends you a bill, the anesthesiologist sends you a bill, there might be a lab bill.
Mm,
And one of the things that we do, in addition to offering our services fairly and transparently, is we bundle all of that together. So you don't have to deal with the headache of dealing with 4 or 5 different service providers. We give you one clear, transparent price and allow you to purchase. And we work with individuals, so people who want to buy for themselves as individual consumers. And then we also largely work with self-insured businesses and employers.
okay. So if I am an employee of a self-insured company, and
Yep.
they have given me this option, and I need to have, my doctor has said I need to have well, let's just say I want to have some facial stuff done. How about that? So I want to have a facelift, and I also want to have a neck done, and maybe I don't know, tummy tuck.
Yeah,
Let's just get
right.
really that's a perfect example of of course that wouldn't be covered by insurance anyway, would it?
It
But
would not.
but someone would be able to use your
Yeah,
network for this to get the best price and bundle it, because all those things could be done together, and all that lab and all those things that would be done before, after, in between would all be included in that one price.
yeah. So an individual who wanted, that's mostly cosmetic surgery, and we do
Yeah.
offer cosmetic surgery. It's a
Uh-huh.
small part of what we do, but an individual could come to Fair Market Health and purchase all kinds of cosmetic surgeries or services. If they're a plan participant, meaning as they're buying as an employee on their employer's health plan, then cosmetic surgeries won't be
Wouldn't
covered
be.
or
Mm-hmm.
paid for by the employer. Those are more traditional medical
Sure,
services
that wasn't a
like
good
labs
example.
and
Yeah.
imaging
Mm-hmm.
and knee surgeries and colonoscopies and all those kinds of
Which are
services.
all the common things we have that add up, especially as you get a little
Yep.
bit older in life. So, okay, that's great.
Yep.
I love learn about that. Okay, so this is a new industry for you, the healthcare industry, because you totally were not in healthcare before. What's
Yep.
been your biggest learning curve as you've become engrossed and immersed in the healthcare industry?
I think the biggest learning for me was how perverse the healthcare industry really is in terms of just its underlying operations. If you think about all the participants in the healthcare industries, all the way from drug manufacturers to large hospitals and health systems and insurance companies and on down the line, all of those market participants, they make money when people are sick, and they do not, this is an important, they don't make money when people are well. So there's this very perverse incentive. people believe that our healthcare system exists to to keep us healthy and to heal us. And yeah, there is some of that happening. They're kind of impacting us on the edges, but at the end of the day, they want a sick population because that's ultimately what drives revenue and profit for them. And so just that awakening for me
Mm,
was a big learning.
mm-hmm. And I don't think most people know. I mean, we just don't. We're not in it enough to understand it, and so which is
Yep.
probably part of the reason you have the passion that you have now to have left the industry, a very strong industry that you were in before and doing very well, and you decided to when you learned about what was happening in healthcare, it's something clicked with you, didn't it?
Correct. Yeah. In fact, what really happened was a good friend of mine, his wife needed a hysterectomy, and they happened to be in a situation where they didn't have traditional insurance coverage. And so they were going to have to pay out of pocket for the service. And he was doing his level best to try and understand what the price was going to be ahead of time. And the only thing the hospital could tell him was that it was going to be at least $50,000. And he said, well, there's a lot of numbers above $50,000. Can you narrow it down more for me? And they said, no, it's at least $50,000. And his wife, the hysterectomy that she needed, it wasn't an emergency, but it wasn't something that could be put off forever, right? I mean,
Right.
it was a surgery that
Uh-huh.
she needed to have. So there was a little bit of urgency around it. And so in that moment, he remembered Fair Market Health. And so he called me up and he said, hey, this is probably a long shot, but do you guys offer hysterectomies? I said, yeah, we do. And he said, well, can you tell me what it costs? And at that point, I don't remember the number exactly, but it was somewhere around $7,500. And he said, okay. And he had done enough work to know that the price that the hospital was quoting him was actually just the facility bill. That didn't include the physician, it didn't include the anesthesiologist, it didn't include any labs. And so he said, okay, 7,500, is that the facility fee? I said, no, that's the all-inclusive price. That's the facility, the doctor, the anesthesiology, the labs, that's everything. That's the only number you'll pay. And he couldn't believe it. But of course, he scheduled the appointment with the doctor. It happened to be one of the best doctors in town, one of the doctors that is hardest to get in with. And he went to the doctor's appointment with his wife, and the doctor, unsolicited, started talking to him about how much the doctor loved Fair Market Health. And the reason the doctor loves it is because he gets to perform the service, be a doctor, and get paid without any insurance hassles. Because most doctors have to jump through all these hoops to try and get paid through the
Right.
insurance company. And with Fair Market Health, they get paid almost immediately and without hassle. And so he came back to me and said, everything about this experience was great. The customer service was great. The price, of course, was great. My doctor loved it. We got great care. He's like, this is it. This is the wave of the future. In fact, he said, if you're ever taking investors, I want to be one of your first investors.
Good. Oh, cool, cool. So is he? He is.
He is actually now.
Okay, I love it.
And
Those are the best.
and that was kind of the light bulb moment for me. I knew we were headed working on a good thing, but to
Uh-huh.
hear it from a personal standpoint and from all those different angles, I thought, okay, this really is something.
Yeah, it's almost like physicians have become paperwork shufflers instead of, it's like, okay, I got to get you
Exactly.
out of here because if I don't do it in 15 minutes and I don't get paid enough and I can't pay my bills and if so you're just cutting all that out.
Well, they say a lot of doctors, primary care doctors in particular, you get a 7-minute appointment because they have another 7 to 8 minutes of paperwork that they have to
Yeah.
do in order to get paid for the 7-minute visit.
I've seen that personally. And the physician doesn't get any fees or any back office, back end stuff from you, which I love. I mean, I feel like if you're going to do this right, there can't be any of those, well, we'll give you, we'll slide you a little under the table. That's what's gotten the insurance or the insurance companies and the prescription pharmacy and all that. Everything has got the
Yep.
back end stuff in. So I love that. It's just so transparent.
Yep.
It
That's
is
it.
what it is. Yeah, that's
That's it.
cool. So we've got the industry as a whole, the healthcare industry, but what about your industry, which is getting people to get their health care coverage at a reduced rate, what are some of the things that people misunderstand about it? Why would
I
they
think,
not do it? Because what don't they understand?
yeah, I'd say the biggest thing, Lee, that people misunderstand, and I would have put myself in this same category 3 short years ago, is uh, many people combine health insurance and health care as if they're one and the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they absolutely are not the same
No.
thing. And you'll hear people say things like, "Oh, I have great health insurance." Well, what does that actually even mean?
That's a
I think what
good
they're
question.
trying to communicate is I have good access to health care, because that's ultimately what people care about, is they want access to good health care.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance, gets a little wonky, but at the end of the day, insurance is a risk management tool, right? We buy house
Sure.
insurance and car insurance, and it's intended to be a catastrophic, if something really, really bad happens to you, okay, we've got insurance. It won't financially ruin me. But unfortunately, in the US, healthcare kind of controls everything that happens. Sorry, health insurance controls everything that happens in the healthcare world. And really, we need to separate those two, right? We need to give people great access to great healthcare and affordable healthcare. And yes, if they get into a terrible car accident or have a terrible diagnosis that's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, yes, then we've got
The
access to
catastrophic,
insurance,
right, right.
a
Mhm.
risk management tool. But the reality is the only reason healthcare has gotten so expensive is it's filtered through this controlling mechanism of health insurance. And so we really need to think of them separately and separate
That's a
them.
good point, Dean. So I did this. Here's an example, a personal example. About 3 years ago, my arm went numb, and
Yep.
I thought I was having a heart attack. It was awful. And I went to my doctor, and she said, "Well, it's not your heart, but it's not your arm either. So we need to get an MRI." And we hem-hawed around that, and the insurance did approve my MRI. It was going to be a couple, I think maybe like 1,800 or something. So not terrible. But I decided to call around and find out the cash. So I did get it for $500.
Yep. Good for
Okay, so
you.
that was 3 years ago. I go back to the doctor and she says, you're still, I couldn't move my neck this way, this way. She said, you know what, you need another MRI. I can't really see where you are. So let's go ahead and get that done. I got the insurance. You have been denied. We do not think you need an MRI. And I said, what?
Yeah,
You didn't touch me. How do you know if I need an MRI
exactly.
or not? So then the doctor's office called me and told me what to do. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to get it and I'm going to pay for it myself again, like I did
Yep.
before.
Yep.
And so what you're doing is making that all go away. Basically, you're not letting the insurance company tell you, well, Dean, I know you've got a lower back pain. I know it's impacting your life. I know you can't go on a walk with your kids and you can't take your dog anywhere, but we're sorry we're not going to cover any treatment for it today because it doesn't look like it's your day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
almost what it's like.
That's exactly right. And it's one of the reasons that so many doctors are leaving the profession, is because they've had this complete loss of autonomy now, because as you mentioned earlier, they are swimming in paperwork with all
Yeah.
this billing and trying to get paid, which is a bunch of nonsensical hoop jumping. And then on top
Mm-hmm.
of it, they have to play mother may I with the insurance company. They went to many years of med school and training and residency and all of that, and examine their patients in person, make a medical judgment and recommendation, and then the insurance company, some person in an ivory tower miles
Right.
away, says no. Can you imagine how frustrating that must
Oh,
be?
yeah, I can't imagine being a physician in this world trying to deal with that. I cannot. That's,
Right.
who you need to sell this product to is the state insurances. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not suggesting that the person on state insurance should have to pay it, but wouldn't state insurance do better going directly also?
Yes. Yes, they would.
Yeah,
Yes, they would. But
that's
now we're
probably a
getting into a
political
whole realm
conversation.
of,
Yeah,
yeah, a whole realm of politics
yeah.
involved there.
So take that out of the interview. But it's a solution. It really is.
Well,
So
and that's what we tell client or prospective clients all the time, self-insured employer clients, is wouldn't you like to save 35% on your healthcare spend
mhm,
with no downside risk? Because again, we don't
right.
get unless you use our service. And
Hmm.
when you use our service, your employees and their plan members or family members save on average 35% versus the insurance costs. So why wouldn't you do this?
Yeah, yeah. It's a very logical for sure. So now you have now you're an entrepreneur, you're the CEO of this company, you're a co-founder, you've got investors, you've got this passion project, really, Dean, is what you have. But you had a really great, stable, fabulous career prior to this. So tell me about what's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur? Because that's what you are now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, when I was working at Coke,
Koch, Coke.
KOCH, and other large, I worked for other large consulting companies
Mm-hmm.
before that. You had a army of resources behind you, right? We had floors of attorneys and floors of marketing people and floors
Right.
of PR and whatever you needed, we had floors of people that specialized in that specific area. And obviously, when you get into the world of entrepreneurship, especially startup entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have those armies of people behind you, and so you do end up being chief cook and bottle washer for a lot of things, and really what that means is you're kind of operating a little bit suboptimally, right? I'm a
100%.
finance guy, and I feel very comfortable in that realm, but move me into the marketing world, and it's all new, and I have to learn all of it,
Right.
and I enjoy learning parts of it, but it doesn't mean I'm the best at it, right? And
Yeah.
so that is a key challenge, I think, for all entrepreneurs, especially startup entrepreneurs, is how do you get access to the resources and
Mm-hmm.
expertise that you need to really drive your business forward?
I feel like owners, entrepreneurs need a community of people to go to. You know, we try to do that in Action Coach. Is the clients that we work with, we try to form a community. So because among themselves they have the answers,
Yeah,
they just don't have them down the hall like you did when you were
right.
with those big companies. And the answers are there. It just it's a different way to have to go after them and that. But that's an interesting thing. And you know, you're probably doing more like this interview. This is out of your probably didn't have to do that when you were at Coke.
Nope, never,
And here you are
never.
going, sure, Lee, I'll interview you or let you interview me, whatever. Yeah, so good. Okay, so what's your favorite part about being an entrepreneur?
I really think it is the problem solving. I mean, I always like that.
Uh-huh.
I would say Coke was a very entrepreneurial
Oh, for sure.
business
Yeah.
overall, and same thing in consulting. I really liked to helping first to understand, okay, what are my clients' problems, customers'
Mm-hmm.
problems, and how do I bring solutions to those problems, either because it's the service that I offer, or maybe, and you mentioned this earlier, Lee, offline, you're a connector. And so,
I am.
how can I help my clients and my customers, even if I'm not personally the one who's going to bring that value or provide that service? How can I be of service to them?
Mm-hmm.
And I love solving other people's and especially clients' problems.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in that there's a big old universe and what goes around comes around kind of thing. And
I
you
agree.
get to do that in when you're an entrepreneur more than in any other practice, I think,
I
because it's
agree.
a practice. Being an entrepreneur is a practice. It's like, you know, in and of itself. So
Yeah.
I like to ask the entrepreneurs that I interview, how do you start your day? Do you have a ritual that you follow?
Yeah, very much. And this really did start when I got into fair market health, because my ritual at Coke and other businesses was different. But at Coke, or sorry, at Fair Market Health, my ritual now is in the morning. My first thing in the morning is I get up and I read and I write. And I partly do that because that's where I feel like my mind is kind of the freshest. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I generate most of my best ideas and again, everybody's different. Some people get more energy midday and some people have more energy, afternoon or night. And maybe a long time ago I used to be that person, but now for me,
Yeah.
it's first thing in the morning. I love that first cup of coffee. It's a time to think, it's a time to read and learn really.
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, writing really is just a form of thinking. And so that's what I really like to do first thing in the morning. And I probably devote 2 hours to reading and writing.
Wow, that is fabulous. I'm going to make a note of writing as a form of thinking.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's thinking and thinking new thoughts and different thoughts that find answers to things we didn't know we needed to find answers to. So there's some new studies, and I can't cite them or anything like that. But in the old days, well, a month ago, we used to go and meditate in the morning and be quiet and take our minds away. But now there's some studies indicating that we should do our most problematic, problem solving, energy needing things first thing before we get, I mean, before you even get in your shower. So I have loved that because I just get in my jammies and get in that office and I start thinking about what I want to do and writing it
Yep.
down. And I'm so glad to have it. Instead, I used to feel so guilty. Oh no, I need to be meditating for 30 minutes before I start. Well, that is not me at all.
Yeah.
My brain is ready to go. And it sounds
Yeah.
like yours is too. And for you
Uh,
to give it 2 hours, oh, if all of my clients would do that, I'd be so happy because they would have all their answers,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've found it a great use of time because it does, you hear it and it sounds like a waste. You're like, most people
Right.
would listen to that and go, "Oh my gosh, what a waste of 2 hours." But I find it to be consistently the most two valuable 2 hours of my day. And I've had to rearrange things, right? I used to work out
Sure.
first thing in the morning. I move my workout to a different part of the day
Mm-hmm.
when I kind of need a little boost of energy. That's what my workout does for me. So, you just got to rearrange your day a
Yeah,
little bit to kind of
absolutely.
match where your energy is, really.
Yeah, it's a whole energy thing but I love that writing as a form of thinking. That's a really good one. I love that. And I'm going to ask you in a little bit about what you like to read, and what your favorite business book is, but what do you like to read? I mean,
I'm well, when I'm reading in the morning, I'm reading in industry
okay. Yeah.
things. So I'm just because again, as you mentioned, I didn't grow up in healthcare, and so I still consider myself very much a student of
Mm-hmm.
healthcare, and so I'm just trying to consume as many high quality resources as I can to just get smarter on the industry and be more conversant in the industry. Um, but what I like to read personally is historical fiction, but I
Okay.
don't fit that into the first 2 hours of the day.
No, probably not. Okay, well, at least you told me what you like to read. So, what's your favorite business book? Have you read a sort of generic business book or one that's even healthcare related that you would recommend to others?
Yeah, I mean, there is a great there's several great kind of business books on healthcare. I could list a long list of them, but one of the authors I really like is a doctor. He's out of Hopkins. His name's Marty Makary, and his last book is called The Price We Pay. He has a
Mm.
new book coming out, which of course I'm not going to remember the title of. I think it's out in September of this year. I think you can pre-order it now. Um, so anything by Marty Makary, I think, is great. There's another book that's actually a great resource for families and individuals. It's a guy by the name of Marshall Allen. His book is called Never Pay the First Bill, and it's really a how-to guide
Ooh.
on how to interact with the healthcare system. And
Mm.
that's a great resource. I mean, I give that as a gift to people because
Oh,
it's
that's a
just
great idea to
a
do that.
great book. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it'll
Uh-huh.
pay itself back in, 100 times over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's a great book.
Okay.
Um, and then just in terms of general business books, I was actually having a hard time coming up with one that I wanted to recommend. I I'd, I'd say the thing that I probably most consistently go back to as a business resource is Buffett's shareholder letters. The
Gosh,
guy's a
it's like
great
reading
writer.
poetry, isn't it?
He's a great thinker.
Yeah. The reason this business was successful and made so much money is right here. Just
Yep.
read it. That
Yep.
is brilliant. Now, doesn't Charles Koch have a book?
He does. He has several books. And honestly, the reason I didn't mention those specifically was I felt like I got to live those books
Sure,
while I was
I
at
bet you
Coke.
did.
And of course I read the books and I thought
But
they were
yep,
great.
yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, but I was lucky enough to kind of look at
Ooh,
much of it and go, yeah, I got to live some of this and I got to,
hmm.
experience some of it.
Yeah, you were lucky. And it sounds like you were really close with them. That's a pretty neat experience that you've
It's
had.
a
So
great
cool.
business and a great family for sure.
Yeah. Cool. I'll put I'll look up the titles of his book and put them in the notes of this, because people might want to. I got to hear him speak at a chamber event, and he talked about his book then. It was interesting because he came to the chamber annual meeting, and he sat on the stage, and he had white sneakers on.
Yeah.
I think he had blue jeans on, and he crossed his leg, and he just said the answers to things. And I went, you act like you're just a simple guy, but I know you're not. I could tell
Yeah.
by his answers. It's a pretty amazing guy
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
I'll tell you the book, Science of Success, Good
That's what
Profit,
it was.
Believe
Good
in
profit.
People. Yeah, they're all great books.
Yeah, they are great books. So now that you're in this new area of life, when it's all said and done, what do you hope people remember about you, about what you've done or what you've accomplished?
I think, Lee, just that I loved and served people well. Family, friends, acquaintances. Yeah.
I mean, that you can't go wrong with that, can you? You cannot go wrong with that. That's cool. All right. So how do people find you if they want to know more, if they want to have a conversation with you?
Yeah. LinkedIn's the best place to
Okay.
find me. And yeah, Dean Jargo on
Okay.
LinkedIn.
Dean Jargo, Jargo. And then also your website is fairmarkethealth.com. That's where people can go to get a feel for what they can buy. And then
Yeah.
if they want to know more about kind of what's behind the scenes, maybe have a conversation with you or watch some of the videos you have on LinkedIn, read some of the papers that you've written, because
Yeah,
you've got
exactly.
like a little entourage of
Montage.
content. There you go, montage. Thank you very much. Edit that out, that mistake that Lee made. All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I know you
Thank
have
you,
a lot
Lee.
of important things to do, and you're making a lot of change in the world. And to stop and take a minute to tell me about it I appreciate very much. Very
I
much.
appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Lee.
Absolutely. So I have just interviewed Dean Jargo, and he is the co-founder of Fair Market Health, and you are actually the CEO.
Yes.
CEO? CEO.
CEO. Yep.
CEO. And I'm Coach Lee Gray with Action Coach Business Coaching, and I'm located in Wichita, Kansas. And I like to help business owners have a business that can work without them. So thank you very much, Dean.
Thank you.